The business secretary, Kemi Badenoch, has accused the post office chairman that she sacked of seeking revenge after he claimed that he'd been asked to delay compensation to postmasters ahead of the general election.
Several serious allegations were made against the government, my department and its officials by Henry Staunton, the former chair of the post office, over the weekend. These allegations are completely false. It is so disappointing that he's chosen to spread a series of falsehoods, provide made-up anecdotes to journalists and leak discussions held in confidence. All of this merely confirms in my mind that I made the correct decision in dismissing him. Mr Staunton claimed that when he was first appointed as chair of the post office, he was told by a senior civil servant to stall on paying compensation. There is no evidence whatsoever that this is true.
Well, the business secretary also accused Henry Staunton of being investigated over bullying before his dismissal.
Delighted to be joined this morning by talkTV's political correspondent, Alicia Fitzgerald, and former Labour advisor, good mate, my Mike Buckley. Morning, one and all.
Morning.
Morning.
Let's start with this searing statement yesterday by Kemi Badenoch, responding to Henry Staunton, who got fired, and he was responding to her. I'm going to throw it in there, Alicia, you know me. This is just Kemi Badenoch positioning herself to be the next leader of the Tory party, isn't it? Come on.
Well, it was just a very, very scathing statement, for sure. And it's not really the normal type of statement we see in these kinds of situations.
Absolutely.
It's quite rare for someone so senior in a party to stand up in the House of Commons and use such scathing language that she did. She totally said that Henry Staunton was lying. She accused him of seeking revenge. And then she made that allegation that he had bullying claims against him, which is the first time we've even heard anything about that. I mean, that hadn't been raised at all during this whole process.
I still want to make the point, Rosie and I were talking about this yesterday, the post office scandal, Mike, this isn't party political. There is guilt, I think, associated with many, many politicians of all parties. But do we believe what Staunton says? Is Badenoch just positioning herself? Your thoughts on that?
One of them's lying, one of them is. Well, presumably, either they're both lying, or one of them's lying and the other one isn't. And I think time will tell which of them it is. I mean, Kemi was saying yesterday, well, he's got no evidence for his claims, but indeed, she didn't provide any evidence for her claims yesterday either. And indeed, the claims on both sides are pretty gargantuan. I mean, she's saying, this is, he was at fault, he was, there were claims of bullying, that he's lying, that he's making things up. He's saying, well, he was told not to push the claims through. And indeed, we all know it's now a matter of record. Very little was done on the compensation until the ITV documentary, or, drama series. So in that sense, he seems to have been correct. But the fact that he said that, she went into him and said, well, look, someone's got to take the rap for this and it's going to be you. He'd only been there since December 2022, which is a very short amount of time ago. He clearly wasn't there for the vast majority of this scandal. So there's clearly something very odd going on. It does look to me as if this is just her positioning herself for the Tory leadership. But who knows, maybe in coming days she'll provide all the evidence and then things will become clear. Who knows?
Very interesting.
This came to light in an interview that Henry Staunton with the Sunday Times. Obviously felt like his side of the story hadn't been heard. It now certainly has been. What are the chief areas of sort of disagreement between his side of events and then Kemi Badenoch's?
So perhaps the most interesting thing that Henry Staunton claimed was that he had been asked by a senior civil servant to delay the compensation payments to those affected by the post office scandal. So those big payments of around £600,000 that the government have promised every individual who was so awfully impacted by this scandal. And he was apparently told to delay that in order to help budget for the general election campaign for the Conservative Party. So a massive, huge claim. I mean, if that is true, that is beyond outrageous, clearly, and I'm sure everyone will agree with that. But Kemi yesterday totally denied that statement, said that was not true, there's no evidence for this. But at the same time, so now it's just this war of words. And as well as that, he also claimed that when she fired him, when she sacked him from his role, that she said someone has to take the rap for this regarding to the post office scandal in general. He said that that's what happened. She totally denied that as well. So it really is just this war on words at the moment.
Nadine Dorries has written this amazing book, I'm sure you haven't read it, where she says that everything to do with the Tory party is done by about 5 men in suits somewhere in the bowels of Number 10, and they make decisions, and Kemi Badenoch is the anointed one. What also came out yesterday, Mikey, the Cameron government knew the post office had ditched the Horizon investigation. That's come out as well. As I said at the beginning of this, whether it's Ed Davey, who was the postmaster, Pat McFadden, the Labour Party's head of... He was the post office minister. He didn't do anything. Ed Davey has done nothing. There's a lot of people, I would think, who are sitting wherever they're sitting thinking, I wonder if this is going to drag me into this, because I think this has got people's fingerprints all over
this
it.
went on for a staggeringly long time.
Yes.
You know, and as we all now know, there's thousands of people's lives ruined, not just for a short period of time, but over decades. When there was one couple I was hearing about, they lost everything. They've been living for 20 years in a camper van. You know, this is government failure on a massive scale.
But let's make the point, Mike. I'm not even arguing with you. This isn't this government. This has gone on for years.
It has gone on for absolutely years. And we don't know who knew what when. And presumably all of this will come out in a public inquiry.
The investigation in 2016 trawled 17 years of secrets, 17 years of records, I should say. And even that wasn't enough.
Alicia, is there some case to be made here that because so many different bodies, political parties were all involved, no one really had anything to gain by shining light on this situation and then fixing it, and still now, even when the political capital would say, OK, what you've got to do is get compensation to those victims as soon as possible, it's proving really tricky.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, we'd all really hope that that isn't the case, but that's not to say it's totally unfeasible to be true as well. And I think another claim that Kemi made yesterday, which I think raised a few eyebrows, was that everyone has been working 24 hours around the clock since this scandal happened. I mean, we already know that isn't true. We've had various really senior political figures come forward and apologise for the fact that they maybe haven't dedicated enough political time and energy to the scandals. So then she came forward and said, everyone's been working tirelessly over this.
You think about political capital, don't you? And we were talking about, is she the anointed one? Is she literally going to put her neck on the line, both of you, and say, and cover up what she knows is happening? Because it would be very easy for her, surely, after the election to go, this is what was wrong with that administration and this administration. Why would she put her head above the parapet right now?
Well, let's look at it this way. If it comes out that she was lying yesterday, or that any of those claims that Henry Staunton made were true, I mean, her leadership bid is totally finished. That's that.
Maybe she's been set up. Oh, my God, conspiracy theories. Let's do Starmer with the legend.
Well, just quickly, what do you think her strategy is? Because she's so forthright, she's so uncompromising. If she believes something, my goodness, we find out about it and pretty fast.
I mean, she's incredibly popular amongst Conservative Party members. You look at the poll in Conservative Home, the website of Tory Party members and who they like in the cabinet, she's way ahead of the rest. Now, whether that's because of her own activity or whether there is a cabal of people in the bowels of the Tory Party who are making it all happen for her, I mean, I don't know. But if it goes to, say the Conservatives lose the election, as now seems incredibly likely, and then the Conservatives elect a new leader and it goes to the members, on current polling, she's just going to walk it. So this could be the future that we're looking at. However, I mean, as Alicia said, if it comes out that she's lied or been, spreading malicious rumours about Henry Staunton, that could burst her bubble.
I'm not sure why she should need to. I think it'd be a good one. Don't you think should we shout that one out?
Yeah, well, do you think Kemi Badenoch is the next Tory leader? I mean, just quickly, before we move on, Alicia, she's often asked, does she want the job? Pretty difficult to have to come up and say, do you want your boss's job? I mean, every time she's asked about this, she'll say no.
Do you want your boss's job?
I'm saying that's the question.
Everybody aspires to have their boss's job, don't they?
To be asked...
Don't you want your boss's job?
Who's my boss?
I said that's not my question. I mean, don't we all?
That depends
am I
who my
wrong?
boss
Well, if you have no ambition, then you don't. But unless otherwise, yes, you do, of course.
Of course she does.
But of course, it's a little bit awkward, isn't it? I mean, I think the standard answer is, well, Karen, there's no vacancy.
That's true. Talk today at talk.tv. Text to 87222. As Rosie says, do you think Badenoch could be the next Tory party leader? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, let us know what you think. You can text us 87222. Start your message with the word talk. For now, Alicia Fitzgerald, thank you so much.
I want to ask him about... We don't need time to ask him about Starmer.
Please do.
Am I being told we've got to... I only think... thank you so much. This is Charlie, by the way, in our ear this morning. Charlie, you know him, nicks things from supermarkets, allegedly, and drives his bike on pavements, but there we go. Starmer, a week ago, Mikey, we were talking, obviously, as our ally ahead of that Rochdale by-election, rumblings of anti-Semitism, first defending him and then throwing him out. Then a second MP, Graham...
Jones.
Thank you, Hydeburn. And then a week later, two absolutely unbelievable results on Friday in those by-elections. Starmer yesterday, we're reporting, off to Munich, meeting all these leaders. Every day that passes, he looks more and more like a Prime Minister in waiting.
Yeah, he does. He absolutely does. I mean, he was in Munich last week, as you say, at this big security conference, and all the world leaders were gathering around him and taking selfies with him and having photos taken and saying, oh, it's wonderful to meet Keir Starmer, preparing for that transition of power. And indeed, we saw the by-election results last week, absolutely staggering for Labour.
Could have done better in Kingswood, couldn't they?
Just about, but they did staggeringly well in winning. I mean, both of them, it's the same play as Blair had in the run to 1997 in terms of the number of by-elections Labour's winning and the margin at which they're winning them. But one of the you know, we talk about politics all the time, we talk about who's up, who's down, but actually look at the polls, they've been pretty much consistent since the Liz Truss premiership. Labour's been ahead by about 20 points, because it was back then, late 2022, the public looked at Liz Truss, this was post-Partygate, and thought, we can't trust these guys with running the country anymore. They haven't changed their mind under Rishi Sunak.
Very interesting. I would only say there was one poll last week that dropped them from 20% lead to 12, and that was before the anti-Semitism.
Yeah, that was the Survation
on the
poll,
back of you changing
which
your mind
went
about
down
the Green.
by 7 points, but then the previous time it had gone up by 7 points. So that was just Survation.
Listen, I'm just trying, Mikey.
Yeah, no, it's a good try. It's a good try. You carry on.
I mean, listen, I think, to be fair, I've made the point. I think he's done an amazing job. But when push comes to shove, it's going to be an interesting year, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's an understatement, I reckon, yeah.
Trump against Biden and Keir Starmer against Rishi.
Well, it's a huge election year, and we still don't exactly know when we're all going to go to the ballot box. October, November?
What do you reckon? Did anybody... May, people are saying. I mean, somebody said the other day, Rosie, he might as well get it done with because it's a done deal.
Well, there's so many things at play, aren't there? So the kind of working assumption, that's what Rishi Sunak said, was that it will be in the later half of this year, so October, November. But there's still a few rumours that maybe it could be in May, last minute kind of call, just to kind of catch Labour off guard kind of thing. But, I mean, I reckon autumn's more
It's not going to make any difference, is it?
feasible.
Well, I know they've planned for May. They've cancelled a whole bunch of events in April in a number of government departments. So I think they're planning on May. I think they would like May. I think what the government want is to do with the budget, cut taxes, people fall in love with them again, the polls switch round, and then we go for re-election and then they win and carry on. There's zero chance of all
It's
that
the first time
happening.
I've ever heard Tory-minded electors say to me and to lots of people I know, but even if they do cut taxes, you said it yesterday, how are we going to afford that? Nobody's ever asked that question in the past. I think they're a busted flush. I'm just being straight.
No, I agree with you, 100%.
Fantastic.
I mean it this time. Alicia Fitzgerald, thank you very much.
Sorry,
Michael
boss.
Buckley, thank you both so much.